Here today to start a series on intuitive eating, and as we've covered on this channel before, intuitive eating can be a transformative tool to help recover from disordered eating behaviors or a diagnosed eating disorder. The problem comes when if it's not quite the right time for somebody, or if they don't have good guidance going through the intuitive eating journey, it can actually just become another way to diet, unfortunately. So, only eating if you're hungry, never eating if you don't feel traditional hunger cues, stopping eating when you're not hungry anymore. And this can lead to people spending way too long waiting for their next meal, going far too long without feeding their bodies appropriately, and never feeling satisfied. So if somebody has some fear still of eating to fullness or eating to feel food in their body, they're not going to allow those signals to be present. So intuitive eating can in that way sometimes fail before it even gets off the ground. For that reason, intuitive eating should be a tool that is only used when someone is ready for it. They have a little bit more body acceptance, a little bit less fear around their weight or their weight changing, a little bit more flexibility in how they're eating, and really more consistent hunger and fullness cues to guide them through the process. For that reason, for anyone who has an eating disorder, we generally recommend completing your prescribed treatment and a restorative meal plan first. That treatment and meal plan can help your body's internal energy regulation system kind of get back online after a long time of irregular eating or restrictive eating or over-exercising. Essentially, the plan is there to help teach your body when to anticipate well-timed and appropriately portioned meals again until your body can kind of take over and start to do that for you. In that way, you'll have those cues ready and raring to go to help guide you through intuitive eating as your next step. So the first principle of intuitive eating that we're going to cover today is to ditch diet culture. And it is the first principle. They don't recommend skipping it in the book, and it comes first for a reason. If we can't fully master the idea or the concept of ditching diet culture, the rest of the principles in the intuitive eating plan aren't going to get us very far in our journey towards a healthier relationship to food and our bodies. And the reason is, we can be doing great on this intuitive eating journey, but if we haven't fully ditched diet culture, the moment we have some difficulty in our lives, a little bit more stress, maybe low self-esteem or low self-confidence, that next diet or that next promise of weight loss is kind of always going to be there lurking in the background, and that can be a danger towards a relapse into restrictive eating patterns or a relapse into a full-blown eating disorder. So for that reason, we want to make sure that for anyone that we work with, they work on ditching diet culture first, fully absorbing that principle, and then moving forward when they're ready. In its simplest form, diet culture is all the ways that we mentally maintain behaviors that help us either maintain the weight that we're at, or ideally, in a perfect sense, would help us lose weight. So the ways that the mind tries to control the body or keep the body small. And there's a long list of ways that people can do this. Some of the most frequent, or the ones that we hear the most, are, portioning yourself smaller meals than you typically think that you need, extending fasting periods between meals, or potentially skipping meals altogether, being unrealistic about goals around limiting or eliminating takeout meals or processed foods, eliminating entire food groups like carbs or dairy or certain types of protein without providing your body calorically appropriate substitutes, participating in detoxes, cleanses, or jump starts, any program that really recommends or urges you to drastically reduce calories for a small amount of time, replacing calorie and nutrient-dense foods like grains, fats, and proteins with low-calorie options like popcorn, vegetables, or fruits, with ideally the desire to maintain a calorie deficit, counting calories or macros, or trying to manipulate macros for the purposes specifically of fat loss or weight loss, whether you're tracking it or just mentally keeping track of it in your mind, and increasing exercise with the purpose specifically of calorie burn and energy expenditure, irregardless of whether you want it, irregardless of whether you like it, and irregardless of how your body feels. These and many more are the conscious decisions that the mind makes, of course on the surface, to be healthier and live a healthier lifestyle. But in the case of disordered eating or a diagnosed eating disorder, the control that someone can have on these types of behaviors can become really overpowering and start to interfere with someone's goals, academics, job and work life, relationships, and ultimately their health and well-being. Overall, diet culture encapsulates the belief that the mind knows all when it comes to the body, and that the body cannot be trusted, and it has to be very meticulously controlled and maintained. In an eating disorder, there is so much fear and anxiety wrapped up in weight gain or body change that the behaviors that someone will go to maintaining their size or trying to get smaller can fundamentally and to a detrimental degree affect their ability of healthy striving. The ultimate goal of ditching diet culture altogether is to accept that your body has its own internal energy regulation systems. For some people, they may have to turn it back on after a long period of irregular eating or dieting or weight cycling in the past, but it is there and it will support you towards making more healthy and more authentic choices when it comes to taking care of your body. In research, intuitive eating has actually been shown to help stabilize weight as well as other health markers like BMI, hypertension, and insulin resistance. It can help improve relationships to food, eliminate fear and anxiety around eating. It can reduce or restrict binge cycles, and most importantly, it's been shown to be really effective in helping people maintain eating disorder recovery. So to wrap up this first principle, ditching diet culture is about turning down the volume on all of the external and mental cues that we are trying to follow to maintain a very tight control over our body and our body's needs and our body size, and to turn up the volume on listening more intently and really starting to get to know the ways in which your body is communicating to you about what its needs are, and then trusting yourself to follow through on those so that you can treat your body better, essentially. If you have an eating disorder, as I said, we recommend completing a treatment plan and a restorative meal plan before getting started into intuitive eating. And if you have a trusted support or provider, we recommend talking with them about when the intuitive eating journey might be right for you to get started on. And if you're interested in any of this, but maybe not ready to take the first step, we do recommend reading the book Intuitive Eating. The link is in the description below, and stay tuned for lots more intuitive eating content to come.